That's the sentiment for every time the New York Giants step out on the field. This is Tim's New York Giants Straight Talk. Powered by Big Blue LLC. The Giants got whomped by the Baltimore Ravens 35-14. This was an ugly game from the first snap to the last play. Why Brian Daboll's calling all of his timeouts with 4.5 minutes left when you're down 35-14, I got no fucking clue. The 3 passes in a row at that one point in time, I got no fucking clue. The only thing I can think of he's doing is pulling the Joe Judge. He doesn't want to be here anymore. He's like, you know what? How can I screw this up so fucking much that they're not going to bring me back? Once again, there's a banner flying over MetLife plane. It's not a drone. Basically saying, Mara, we're going to keep flying this plane until you fire everyone. The talent on this team is minimal. The talent on this team is getting worse. And the injuries, of course, yes, the injuries are piling up. And that's just what happens with injuries. That's called the NFL. But the problem is you got certain guys out there who aren't NFL players that are getting hurt, and people are like, oh, look at all these injuries. Well, some of these guys aren't even NFL players. So sometimes when you have people that aren't even NFL players playing against NFL players, the people that are non-NFL players get hurt. If you can't protect yourself when you're out on the field, we've talked about this before. We talked about that with Wan'Dale Robinson. Wan'Dale Robinson, we said from the moment we drafted him, he better learn to protect himself on that field or he's going to get killed. And he's always injured. He's always got some kind of problem. He's always got some kind of nagging injury. You got to give it out to Lamar Jackson, 21 of 25 for 295 touchdowns. Added another 65, had that beautiful 21-yard run. 6 carries over 65 for 10. I mean, there's really not much to say about this team. People are going to go gaga over Dane Belton's 15 tackles, but they're going to forget about the 3 touchdowns he again was on the trailer of. And I've said it before. I had 19 tackles in one game. We never talk about the 6 I missed. No, we just talk about the 19 tackles. I missed 6. We got a garbage sack sighting from Brian. What about Brian Burns? So now he's got 8 on the season, and I love it because all I can do is think back to the NFL guys on the NFL Network that said, Brian Burns, good player, but you gave $120 million to an 8-sack guy. He's not a difference maker. I kind of feeling that Kayvon Thibodeau was at the game. I wasn't sure if he was in the stands. Oh no, wait a minute, he did have himself a tackle. I think he had a tackle. I'm not 100% sure, but him and his.
Submitted for your approval. The Ghost Brothers. Nobody needs to be afraid.
Nobody's afraid. Nobody's afraid of the likes of Kayvon Thibodeau. Nobody's afraid of the likes of. You know, it's funny. I mean, you just watch this game, and you're just kind of dumbfounded about how poorly this team plays. And yes, they were going to be outmatched and outshone up by the Baltimore Ravens. We all knew that. But for the fact that, the offensive line played well enough, only giving up 3 sacks. But I think at one point in time, the Ravens took pity on the Giants a couple times. We got to give another shout out, though, to Tyrone Tracy, who didn't have a fumble for 3 weeks in a row. So it's the Tyrone Tracy non-fumble watch. 10 carries, 31 yards, 3.1. Devin Singletary, 8 carries, 25, 3.1. Listen, Tommy DeVito went out with the injury. He was 10 for 13 for 68. I love our 5-yard in a cloud of dust passing game. Malik Neighbors has his first touchdown in 8 weeks, 10 receptions, 82 yards, 8.2 yards of reception. Longest was 23. I just love it, though, because I mean, like I said, I'm not picking on Malik Neighbors, but he talked about the other day about how Brian Daboll's a great coach and keeping everyone engaged. And yeah, while he points out the things we don't do right, he also tells us all the things we did right. You lost 35-14. You didn't do a lot right. You slowed down Derrick Henry, but of course he only had 14 carries for 67 yards for 4.8. I think Saquon Barkley somewhere smiling on his way to Philadelphia to play the Pittsburgh Steelers. This team has got to be gutted. This team has got to. You have to move on. Listen, I can't still get why people are saying you got to give Daboll and Shane another year. No. Even if you take out the 7-2, this is 3 years of a rebuild. You went 7-2, then 2-5-1, 6-11, and right now you're 2-12. You've gotten worse every year. The talent on this team has gotten worse every year. And for the people that are sitting there drooling over the talent from this year's draft, remember Deonte Banks, everyone was drooling over him. Now people are saying he's a bust. Your draft is good. You know how good your draft is 3-4 years from now. Tyler Nubin should be a linebacker. Drew Phillips doesn't have any pass defenses, doesn't have any interceptions, and they're completing over 80% of the passes against him for like a ridiculous 10.8 yards a play. But somehow I'm hearing he's great. Theo Johnson, all his own top potential. I don't see it. I don't see it. Even at Penn State, they said he's got all the talent in the world that he just doesn't apply himself. Not looking at you, Kayvon Thibodeau. There were plays that Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry made Brian Burns look silly in that first half. Oh, my God. I'm kind of in some ways trying to forget that first half. They were up 21-7. Our secondary made Rashad Bateman, and I like Rashad Bateman, don't get me wrong. 3 catches, 80 yards for 2 touchdowns, the longest was 49. Should have had a third. And I love it because Dane Belton knocks the ball down as the trailer. If the ball is not underthrown, it's his 3rd touchdown. Bateman, that is. But I had to hear people on Giant Twitter go, oh, look at that great play by Dane Belton. It wasn't a great play if you intercepted the ball, it was a great play. But when the ball is thrown short, he throws that ball 2 yards further out. It's another 6 because he got behind Dane Belton. I wasn't going to do one today, but I have to.
Stupid Giant Twitter posts.
This one goes out to Fireside Giants. This is actually not just a stupid Giant Twitter post. It's also a stupid video or short. Everyone saw Malik Neighbors playing catch with Mr. Sanders in New York as they were at the Heisman ceremony when his teammate won the Heisman. And I love Fireside Giants goes out with a video. It says, Malik Neighbors recruiting Shedeur Sanders. Shedeur Sanders, sorry. He's out there recruiting him to the Giants. Hey, morons. This isn't college. You don't recruit players. You got to draft them. And if he's not there when the Giants pick, he's not going to the Giants. So you can't recruit anybody. It's the idiocy of this fan base, a segment of this fan base that drives me fucking insane. It drives me insane. There was a lot of empty seats there today, going disguised as empty seats, because it was just pathetic. This is so fucking pathetic. I lived through the 70s. I lived through the Andy Robustelli areas as a general manager. I lived through the Craig Mortons, and I always say that was the giant desert. But there was always hope. And there was hope building up to when they took Phil Simms in 79. There was hope when they made the playoffs in 81. There was hope they could you were hoping they were gonna move forward a little bit in 82, but there was the strike. Then you had the 3-12-1 season with Bill Parcells, and then 84 on to past 90. The rest is history. And I always said that was the worst time to be a Giant fan. And to all the youngins that only know Eli Manning as your quarterback, this is what football is really like. You don't know you're not the Green Bay Packers that went from Brett Favre to Kenny Rogers to the love child. You don't always get that. You're going to be more like the Jets, where you have a Brownie Nagel and a Chad Pennington and a Vinny Testaverde and a Zach Wilson and Sam Darnold and everyone else in between. You're going to go through Jeff Blake. You're going to go through a plethora of quarterbacks before you usually find the next guy. You got spoiled with Eli Manning. You had Kerry Collins in between Phil Simms, Dave Brown, Kent Graham, Danny Cannell. Then you finally landed on Kerry Collins in the Super Bowl in 2000. Then you finally got your guy 4 years later with Eli Manning. And then that's what you knew was Eli Manning. And then everybody thought that Danny No Dimes was going to be the next guy. But some of us saw almost after the end of the first season he wasn't going to be the guy. But this is what football is like. These are the highs you go through. These are the lows you go through. And just imagine, Lamar Jackson, they used the non-exclusive tag on him. And we gave the money to Daniel Jones instead. We didn't even look at Lamar. We went with Daniel fucking Jones over Lamar Jackson, who's trying to get another MVP out of this and maybe a Super Bowl. That's just the way this cookie crumbles. And once again, this is Tim's Yard Giant Straight Talk Power Been Online Big Blue LLC. Don't forget to like, don't subscribe, don't forget to ring that bell because you want to know why. Oh, that'll be awesome.